Hello and welcome to the Five Failure Podcast with your host, MM. Just knocked out a killer workout, in the perfect mood to do this. Today we're going to be talking about the happiness advantage. So, as mentioned in the last podcast on extreme ownership, the happiness advantage is a book that very much changed my perspective to a great degree. I didn't believe that happiness was something that really helped you. In fact, I thought it was sort of the byproduct of success. Well, this book really kills that theory, and you see successful people all the time, they aren't happy, so I absolutely believe what Shawn Achor writes in this book about all that. And so happiness, it leads to success more than success leads to happiness by far. Happiness, he proves throughout this book that happiness not only brings about greater productivity, greater creativity, but it helps you deal with failure. It helps keep your energy high. Things are simply easier to do when you're happier. And not only that, if you speak from an evolutionary perspective, happiness appears to be something that developed as a social mechanism for an individual to win social status and resources easiest in this state. Whereas depression is a state when you face a problem that sheer overconfidence can't match. You have to, go inside yourself, your left prefrontal cortex and a part of your parietal is all that you really see. Look up, an MRI, an fMRI, a functional MRI of a depressed brain, and you'll see depressed people are more logical. Yeah. They also have a hard time doing things. But the thing is, you can train your brain when you're happy to be logical. In fact, you might even be set up that way. If you're listening to this, it's very possible even when you're happy, you're a very logical person, just, personality trait. But let's get into this, okay? Happiness leads to success, not the other way around. Really simple. It's what I just talked about. I don't think I need to add anything there. Happiness and optimism both fuel performance. The quality of your social support network is the greatest predictor for success and happiness. This is the key. You see, every time you have a positive interaction with somebody, your cortisol and stress level dips down. The better relationships and the more better relationships you have in your life, the way it changes, it completely changes your interpretation of stress to begin with. Things that would stress out people with less well-built social support networks don't stress you out when you have that. You just see stress completely differently when you have social support. And that's so important. If you take away one thing from this book, it's that you have to go out there, you have to make these great social connections, and it's about depth, it's not about breadth. You don't want to be, an ocean that's 2 feet deep. You could be a pond, but if you're like Lake Baikal in Russia, that's fucking, super deep. Be that lake. Let's get into the 7 principles now. Number 1, positive brains have a biological advantage. Capitalize on positivity. 2, our mindset determines how we experience the world. Adjust your mindset in the way that gives you the power to be fulfilled and successful. Number 3, retrain your brain to see patterns of possibility so that you can see and seize opportunity. To expound on that, when you are in a negative frame of mind, you look for the negative because you have framed things as being negative. Your brain then looks for those. When you frame things as being positive, it's not some stupid little gimmick. This is how positive thinking, besides lowering stress, actually makes you more successful. If that's your goal, happiness is a goal in of itself, But if success is still your goal, because there are very important things to do in the world, just from a moral standpoint, then happiness helps because this. So when you are in a state of happiness, when you think positively, your brain then looks for positive. And when your brain looks for positive, you see opportunity. And that seeing opportunity is what allows you to capitalize on opportunity, which leads to greater success. So to put that in, as blunt of a way as possible, they did a test. So negative people that were depressed, and then people that were happy, they read this newspaper. In the newspaper, there was a little ad, just a small little ad that said, "You can stop reading this now. You win $500. And you know what? The depressed people didn't notice that because their brains, while skimming this thing, were looking for the negative. And they did. They found the negative. The positive people's brains, even though they weren't actively reading it, they were just skimming it, immediately saw it and they won the money. That's how it works. It's really simple. So now you know it's not bullshit. Number 4, use failure to learn how to be happier and more successful. So failure is a learning experience. When you fail, you need to learn lessons. You write down what you learn, you think about what you learned, and then you move on. It's really that simple. And there you go. Number 5, when facing challenges, focus first on manageable goals before moving on to greater and greater ones. So what you're doing here is you're breaking down a large task into smaller tasks and starting with the easiest one. So I'll be honest, right now I'm cleaning out my brother's room, and it's already halfway done. But what I immediately did is I put this in motion. I picked one area. I said, I'm going to do this area. I'm going to clean this. And I did. And then I did another area and another area. That's what you do. You break something down. Like, you want to get some kind of car or some whatever material possession. You break down what you need to do. You do one thing at a time. You don't think of the whole thing. Same thing with working out. You don't think of, hey, I have to work out for 5 years. Think about, hey, I have to work out tomorrow. Boom, do that. And then the habit carries itself, so that's a little different. But there you go. Number 6, reroute the path of least resistance to avoid falling off the train when your willpower is drained. Now, the thing about this is that it's true that willpower is a muscle. Now, I've changed my mind about this just a little bit because I read Extreme Ownership, and I've seen Jocko Willink, and I've watched the podcast with him, and he absolutely is a disciplined person a good deal of the time. And he even called this out, because this isn't just in this book. This is one of the points in this book that you see a lot of places. And he's disciplined all the time, and he absolutely says that it's a muscle that you can train. That being said, your muscle might be very weak right now. And even if it's strong, you still might want to sometimes just put things out of the way if you need to get a goal done faster. But it is a muscle. You can make your willpower stronger. Okay, but rerouting the path of least resistance will allow you to avoid temptations. So that means if you want to lose weight, you don't have junk food in your house. You don't have the phone number to the pizza place as one of your contacts in your phone. If you have some kind of internet addiction, and it's not something that you can block with a powerful ad blocker that you then change the password to, then what he suggests doing is burying it in a bunch of folders. Bury it in like frickin' 20 folders and subfolders in there. Just increasing the steps to do something will kill the habit. And the same thing is true when it comes to the positive and in the inverse. So if you want to do something, decrease the steps it takes. I work out and have a gym in my house. It helps so much. I work out every day, which also helps because of that habit chain. You do something every single day. It's so much easier, because I used to do 3 times a week. So much easier to do every single day than 3 times a week. And there you go. Number 7, this goes back to the social support. Invest in your social support network, your friends, your family, and your peers, especially in the midst of a challenge. When people are challenged, they have the tendency to focus on the problem and to shut out support and not reinvest in their social support network. But that is when you need it the most. That is when calling on the resources you've accumulated in terms of peers and friends and family will bolster your productivity, your mood, the greatest. So that is the second thing besides the general invest in social support. Keep doing it in a challenge. That's the second most important thing in this book. And this is going well, so let's move on. So, happiness is not wishing away problems or pretending they do not exist. Happiness is not a delusion. It's a work ethic. Your brain is plastic and it can change. You can rewrite it to be happy. If you're a negative person, and it's a very, entrenched thing, understand that your brain is just insanely plastic. And not only that, if you're a smart person, it rewires so much better. I mean, that's just what it does, is it's so good at rewiring. We actually covered a lot of the really important stuff. Let me check the time. I don't want to do any editing and I don't want to waste your time. You need to go to bed soon. So I think that's most of the very important stuff in this book. I will just mention the ripple effect. I might go more in detail on this some other time. I just bang this out real quick because, I want to be doing more. I want to get more done. I want to give you guys more content, and this was important. And it's also good, even if I go back into this really in depth and do the whole post, just in kind of like getting the post out in an audiobook format. It's good that you have this so you can listen to it, in a shortened thing, just like, Cliff Notes, motherfucker. So the last thing I'll say, ripple effect. By becoming happier and improving yourself, you change the lives of everyone around you for the better. This is exactly what I'm trying to do with this podcast, with Fight Failure, the blog. Go to the blog, fightfailure.wordpress.com. I'm trying to not only change my own life and build habits around that and also reinforce my own habits by doing this, but I'm also trying to create quality people. I want you to be a quality person, because even if you don't necessarily go, follow whatever ideology I'm into, however you found this thing, you need to be a quality person, because that's what society needs on any level, is quality people. So there you go. Lead by example. Remember the importance of spending time with quality people. Your behavior is contagious. Oh, I'll say one more thing, and this is thing number 3. This is so important. So important, at least in my experience. The biggest thing that has changed my own level of happiness more than anything else has been abstaining from listening to negative music and watching negative art. I used to, listen to metal, listen to, dissonant classical music, and I just said, I'll just, try not doing that for a little while. That helped more than anything else. Straight up. Long term, all this other stuff, super important, especially the social investment, I'm sure. But if you want immediate results, that's what you need to do. You need to cut out the negativity. And also news. If you are a news addict, and I still struggle a little bit with this because I have to say I love the news, you know what? You need to cut down on that shit, because that's also in there. But there you go. That's the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and, get after it.